One thing that we're seeing in the Fortnite community that's more apparent now than ever is a significant split between the PC Fortnite and console Fortnite communities. Every time the game is updated, every time there's a new weapon added or a mechanic tweaked, it affects each community very differently. This makes each version of Fortnite a drastically different gameplay experience, and the split is getting more and more apparent. Since Epic has pushed cross-platform play, it is impossible for them to make different versions of the game for console and PC. So if Epic wants to add a new gun or Volta gun or change how something works for console to give them more of an advantage on PC players or vice versa, then it's to change the base game altogether. I understand why Epic Games decided to make one version of Fortnite and balance the game between platforms rather than having separate versions. There aren't a ton of cross-platform games out there, let alone really good cross-platform games that are free to play like Fortnite is. And because of the way they set it up, it made the game go really viral since anyone can buy it for no money, and the game ends up making tons of money off people purchasing cosmetic items. However, I'm afraid if they continue to try and constantly balance the game and rebalance the game in different aspects, they may end up upsetting more players who feel like they're being neglected due to the platform they're playing on. Sometimes Epic does a really good job leveling out the playing field between console and PC. A good example of a necessary update to make the game a bit quicker for console players was the change of editing they made on console. Now instead of holding down a button for nearly a third of a second, players don't have to hold it down as long. It's not as fast as having a dedicated edit button like PC players do, but it's a step in the right direction, and console players really appreciate it. Over the last year or so, Epic has made a ton of great improvements to console Fortnite, like the Combat Pro button configuration and turbo building. So what are some of the bad examples Epic has done to bridge the skill gap between console and PC? Well, the biggest one in history of the game would have to be the massive shotgun nerf that began in Season 3. Since players on mouse and keyboard aren't nearly as restricted in movement as console players are, Epic decided that the shotguns needed to be nerfed, due to the fact that PC players were too good with the shotguns and console players just could not compete. I understand the logic behind this decision, but even myself as a console player, I have to disagree. Shotguns are meant to be overpowered in any game. You should be able to one-shot people in the head with a blue pump shotgun, even if they have 200 health. And as the game currently stands, if you're at point blank range with a fully upgraded pump shotgun and shoot them in the head, not a one-shot kill, and that's a bit ridiculous in my opinion. PC players have a lot of resentment towards the console community for the shotgun nerf because they know that Epic did it only to lessen the skill gap for cross-platform play. Epic Games has also added a lot of counters to building in Fortnite to cater more towards console players who can't keep up in build fights with skilled PC players. They've created what's called the spray meta, which is a fancy way of saying that SMGs are the most dominant weapon in the game because they counter building so well. They've added a ton of explosives like C4s and clinger grenades that destroy builds when used. In addition, impulse grenades and bounce pads to get to high ground, and even a grappling hook that basically gives anyone an instant high ground advantage. Depending on what perspective you share, you may think that the constant gameplay variety is a good thing for YouTube content creators and players that don't play the game as competitively, but constantly changing the core gameplay is a really bad idea for the pro scene of Fortnite. I think I have a really solid solution Fortnite could implement to fix this issue, but we'll get into that in just a second. This is a good time to transition into the next reason why Season 6 is going to kill Fortnite. Let's talk about the inconsistent gameplay experience that is becoming more and more apparent as they add more random things in the game. So Fortnite does this thing where every couple weeks they add something that completely changes the way the game plays. Epic Games constantly changes how certain mechanics in the game work, such as health of materials when they're placed or how much damage certain weapons do, for the sake of variety. I get that they're trying to balance their game and add variety, and that it can't be an easy task, but the variety and changes Fortnite has been making are not always good. I understand adding a new weapon here and there, that's what I call harmless variety. Epic used to do this all the time, but nowadays they're adding things that affect the game a lot more than a new gun would. And because of these new things, the skill gap is almost non-existent. If an unskilled player is lucky enough to get a porta fortress and runs into someone that's very skilled, the unskilled player will have a good shot at outbuilding and getting the high ground because of these wildcard items that have recently been added into Fortnite. As you know, Fortnite is almost entirely about high ground. If you have the high ground and keep it, you can win almost any fight. So funny thing is, the mechanic that makes for the biggest skill gap was just ruined by Fortnite recently. By guess what? Oh yeah, a grappling hook with 15 shots. If a player has this, they can get an instant high ground on you, completely breaking the game.
Okay, so we've all been in this situation before. You're playing solos, and what do? You could knock out the bottom, you could build up to them, or you could just use a grappling hook. Instant high ground. Okay, now this is player one. They're building up on you. They're trying to take high ground right now. So that was player 1's effort, and this is player 2's effort. And as you can see, this is clearly less effort right here. Boom, high ground, not even an issue. Complete control over the fight.
There's also other items that can be used to get high ground, such as a porta-fort, porta-fortress, bounce pads, impulse grenades, shockwave nades. Why are there so many items in the game that makes it so easy to get the high ground on a player that's better than you? The way the game plays is constantly changing, the skill gap is constantly changing. People who have a lot more time to play are going to be able to grind the game for hours every day and adapt to whatever meta, while people who don't have that sort of time are left in the dust. People who loved playing Fortnite for a certain gameplay experience will begin to be unsatisfied because they won't be getting the experience they once got because of how fast the game changes. In my opinion, variety is not always good. I do think that by constantly changing the game, Epic Games has been able to build a lot of hype around it and market the game well, but I think in the long run, they're going to push away a lot of their loyal players, and eventually they won't be able to cast their net any broader. If they're no longer attracting new players, they'll be left with nobody playing the game. Real quick, I have a challenge for you guys. If you can leave a like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, you'll receive amazing luck for the next 2 years. Hope you did it in time, and let's get back into the video. Unfortunately, I don't think Epic Games is planning on developing a consistent gameplay experience for the pros and loyal followers who want it, which if they don't start doing it this season, will hurt Fortnite. The biggest difference between this season and previous seasons of Fortnite is that with the holiday rolling around, there's going to be a lot of competition, and if Fortnite continues to leave players unsatisfied, players will find a new game that gives them a better experience. Every year around this time, a ton of new awesome games come out in stores. This is because in America, we have Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's all within 2 months, and for the people in school still, that's about 3 weeks worth of vacation time from school that can be spent gaming. So why does it matter if new games come out? Fortnite has been doing just fine this year, so what's going to change now? Well, for starters, we've been in a gaming drought. In terms of multiplayer games, there haven't really been any good releases this year, let alone any good multiplayer games that are totally free to play. Yeah, there's been PUBG and H1Z1, but those games cost money, and a lot of younger people don't have money to spend on games. Fortnite has been the most affordable and most accessible game of 2018. It also didn't have a lot of competition because it hopped on the Battle Royale trend early with PUBG. Now that the holidays are rolling around, things are about to start to change. Call of Duty's coming out a month earlier this year. On top of that, it's also got a new Blackout Battle Royale game mode, which recently came to public beta and received very positive reviews from the majority of the public. On top of that, there's a new Battlefield game with a Battle Royale mode and a ton of other games that are coming out unrelated to Battle Royale genre. Bottom line is there's going to be a lot of competition, and since it's the holidays, people are going to be buying games for their kids and friends and family. Fortnite can't afford to keep drastically changing the game and pushing players away, because now they're going to go to other games if players are not satisfied with Fortnite. And if any of these games coming out, like Blackout, end up becoming free to play, then it could bury Fortnite. The main thing saving Fortnite right now is that it's free to play. And all these games coming out are not free to play and are priced at $60, $70, $80. But there's been talks of Blackout releasing as a free to play game a few months after Call of Duty releases, and you can just imagine what will happen to the Fortnite player count as soon as Blackout is free to play. So anyway, enough of talking about the potential future. Let's talk about the biggest problem Fortnite is facing today. Recently, there was a lot of YouTube drama taking place within the Fortnite community, which is shocking because we're at the turn of the season and most people should be more hyped than ever for Fortnite videos. Well, this is not the case. As if things were not looking bleak enough for Fortnite content creators, it turns out that the majority of people are fed up with the insane amount of clickbait going on in the Fortnite scene. Recently, data miners found a bunch of hidden code in the game in the most recent update of Fortnite that hinted that there was going to be some sort of a live game event where a volcano would form at a loot lake. A ton of Fortnite YouTubers began live streaming this event and clickbaiting it, and it upset a lot of people in the Fortnite community. More specifically, a YouTuber that goes by the name of Pack-a-Puncher had the best few days of his life, gaining nearly 400,000 subscribers in only a few days of live streaming the event. Throughout his stream, he did a ton of giveaways to get people to subscribe and held 90,000 viewers at some points. This upset a lot of bigger members of the YouTube community, such as Laserbeam, Vicstar, Noah J456, FaZe Avery. Tons of people were attacking Pack-a-Puncher on Twitter. He made the news on Scarce's channel and really received a ton of hate.
So the main Fortnite YouTuber who has been clickbaiting this event is called Pack-a-Puncher, and obviously a lot of people are very upset with this guy. Actually, one YouTuber named Laserbeam, he has over 5 million subscribers. He is a massive Fortnite YouTuber, one of the biggest Fortnite YouTubers right now. He made a video today just showing how clickbait Pack-a-Puncher's live stream is. Just watch this.
Ladies and gentlemen, 8 seconds left, dude. Here we go, dude. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. All right, no actual volcano event. We are 72 hours in, man, and it looks like the volcano event did not occur quite yet, dude.
Vicstar responded to Laserbeam's video and he says, imagine having so little self-respect and misleading so many people for your own gain. Then actually Dan TDM, another very, very big YouTuber, responded to Laserbeam's tweet saying the dude's been doing it for 3 days now. So
whether or not Pac deserved the hate, I'll leave that up to you. I personally feel that a lot of people were really jealous of him because if he didn't gain a lot of subscribers and have a bunch of success, nobody would have said anything. But regardless, seeing so many people get this fed up about the clickbait nature of Fortnite content says a lot about how people feel about Fortnite content right now. Pac-a-Puncher has uploaded a video defending himself where he showed a ton of evidence supporting the claims that there will be some sort of volcano event happening in the game. Still, the community backlash has been insane, and I think people have had it with the blind hype around everything new coming to Fortnite. The demand for content has dropped dramatically, which in my opinion has to do with all the clickbaiting, and my conclusion has been supported by the player counts being at their peak high in August, while the Google Trends demand for Fortnite content is at its lowest. That clearly shows people are playing the game, but they don't want to watch Fortnite videos, probably to do with the clickbait. So everything we've talked about so far has a lot of people very concerned about the future of Fortnite. If YouTube will not regulate the clickbait on Fortnite content more strictly for viewers, and if Epic Games can't create a long-term sustainable gaming experience for those who are looking for that, what's the one thing Epic Games can do to draw a lot of attention to the game in the long run? The answer is competitive.
Tries to establish himself. Looks like he just knocked him. He just fell off the map. Top boy. Getting tagged up, building the floors, trying to build himself a layer, but he hasn't double layered any of this, so if somebody looks up and starts to take some shots or maybe sees where it's connected, he could get dropped early. Caro's looking back, editing himself through, trying to look for just sneak one shot in, but he cannot build. He's got 5 wood, 2 brick, and he goes down.
Epic Games has invested a lot of money into their competitive scene, promising over $100 million in prize money in the 2018 to 2019 season. Tons of professional gaming organizations like FaZe, TSM, and Complexity have picked up to 4-man squads of professional players in anticipation of these tournaments, but we have yet to see a 4-man squad event. Every event that has been held so far has been either a duos event or a solos event. While these events are a lot of fun to watch and draw a lot of attention in the gaming community, this isn't a true competitive scene. Esports has always been a teamwork and team-based events, not solo kill races. If Epic Games can't find a way to develop a legitimate 4-man squads competitive scene for this game, like we've seen in PUBG and H1Z1, then there is no true future for competitive Fortnite. Without a competitive scene, the support of all these professional teams, Twitch, and online third-party sites like UMG and MLG, Fortnite is doomed to slowly fall off throughout the duration of Season 6. Even though Epic Games released their player counts for August, showing that they had over 80 million unique viewers log on to Fortnite last month alone, which obviously makes it seem like Fortnite is far from dying, even with the player count being extraordinarily high, if you go on Google Trends and look at the amount of people searching for Fortnite related content on the internet, the numbers are the lowest we've seen since March. That means a ton of people are playing the game, but nobody cares enough about the game to go watch YouTube videos, read articles on it, or search for the game in general. And there's a big reason why people are not watching Fortnite content as much anymore, but we'll get into that in just a second. But anyway, this decline is critical information, because if the demand of Fortnite content continues to drop on YouTube and Twitch, then Fortnite won't be advertised to as many people. Games heavily depend on promotion from social media influencers to get sales. So if Fortnite isn't piquing the interest of people looking for gaming content online, content creators are going to stop making videos on it, and then not as many new people will be drawn into Fortnite. Keep in mind, we are at the turn of a season right now. Season 6 is only a few days away at the time of this recording, and for so few people to be caring about the next season, in a time where there's a ton of new games and competition coming out for Fortnite, is not a promising look for the future. So what else can be done to help remedy some of these shortcomings Fortnite is suffering from at this current moment in time? Here's what I would suggest based on the research and personal experience I have with the game. I think Epic Games should develop some sort of competitive playlist that provides that consistent gameplay experience its loyal followers are looking for without any giant purple cubes, meteors, and all of the shenanigans that goes on the normal mode of Fortnite. In this mode, it should only feature certain weapons and items that don't break the skill gap, such as removing the grappler I mentioned earlier in the video. This will make people happier on both sides of the fence, especially for those people that like that consistent gameplay experience that heavily relies on skill and less on RNG and timing. Then for the more casual players, there's always that standard base game mode they can go play and have fun on. The only argument I could see Epic making to not do this is because they don't want to split their player count up, but seeing as they had 83 million unique players last month, I think there's plenty of viewers to go around if they added this permanent competitive playlist game mode. I doubt it'll cause more harm than good to the game. On top of that, Epic needs to find a way to get a true competitive scene rolling. They need to completely balance their game for a professional setting and start hosting 4-man squad events so we can finally see all these pro rosters go head to head. Also, viewers need to start doing their best to report misleading videos on YouTube rather than just stop watching Fortnite content altogether. YouTube has great systems in place to deal with misleading videos that viewers should be taking advantage of more and more. As far as dealing with the holiday season competition, Epic is just gonna have to do everything they can to make sure Fortnite is gonna be the most fun playable game out there. It's that simple, and with that, we wrap up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to my channel. This has been Exility. Have a great day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.